Okay, good morning. This is Rav Shlomo Furst here in Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi in Yerushalayim Kodesh. We're learning here Pirkei Avos, our first year in the morning, 9 o'clock. We have breakfast, coffee for you, and please join us if you're visiting, especially from Eretz Israel. You can enrich your visit to Yerushalayim. It's a Kedusha. Okay. We're going to start now the Maral in his commentary on the fourth Mishnah in the first parak. We were learning about the point about Zugos, right, which were the, Mati, maybe we want to just review this. What's the pshat in Zugos?
Yosef ben Yavian, Yeshiva ben Krachio, Itabeli, Yeshiva ben Shishata, Shama Tali, Shama, Rishma Manusi Vashem.
So we'll have the 5 sets of Zugos that this Mishnah Pirkei Avos will mention. And the first in the list is always going to be considered to be the Nafshi, that was his position. The second, the Avos Din. Now the Maram is going to go into a little bit more deeper understanding of the difference between the Av Beis Din and the Nasi and how that affects the Kabbalah that they gave and that they received. Okay, let's continue on. Yeah.
I don't know exactly what this means, based on
Oh, so that's based on the Mimer. Let's go back to let's read the Mimer. Look at the Mimer. What is the Mimer?
Oh, he based on.
Right. Right. So Rabbi Yossi ben Eliezer said, "How you base secha bayis vad l'chachamim should be gathering. Your house should be a house that's a place for the chamim to meet." Right, and in contrast, in complement, right, the second line of Yossi ben Yochanan, that was that your bayis should be pasuch l'ravocha hayonim beinei beisacha. They should be the household, they should be welcome in your home, the iniyim, just as if they were your own family themselves. So they're coming, as the Maral says, letaken bayis adam, meaning to establish. How do you establish a house? Well, Avodas Hashem is Baruch. Meaning a house, when you look at a house, a home, there are many things that take place. Yeah, and it should be not just a place where you eat, sleep, and drink, and all those kind of things. And it should be also a chelik ruchni. And maybe that could be even more important. That should maybe be the primary object.
It's good to learn at home a little bit, even though sometimes it's not so, the concentration.
Yeah, it's very important down.
And if you're done sometimes at home, it's not so terrible either.
Also,
and it should be for tefillah. Sometimes you're late, you're listening,
or person he should really have a certain seder to have at home, right? Yeah. And so that's mitzad himself. So now we have these two aspects, which should be based vad l'chachamim, and should be pesach patuach l'ravocha. And we'll see what the Maral is going to do with this. This is going to be a very, very yesodistic understanding. We'll spend some time. The Maral is going to go into great detail about how this is a strong rooting in the person's avodas Hashem, which the house being one of the main focuses of a person's life, obviously should also have a strong part in his avodas Hashem. Mm-hmm. Aside from his interactions with his wife, his interactions with his family members, his children, but also what the house is and what's accomplished and what's done in the house. Mm-hmm. Very important thing in terms of his shleimus in his avodah, in his perfection in serving Hashem.
It's interesting whether the continuation of Tabasicha in Maisha, that's in the bias.
Oh, so that the Vishta Amru, they say that's the Ishtoi. Kovachomer basis Chavero. So we're going to go into this. We're going to go into right now. We're just going to discuss the concept of the Nasi and our Beis Din and the mimer of Rabbi Yosef ben Eliezer and Rabbi Yochanan ben Yochanan, and then later on, probably next week, we'll start getting into the actual dinim that they told us about. We're going to go into the analyzation of the actual dinim, but we're going to have a little basic introduction based on the Maharal Pride will be here. Hine, Tim,
Sorry,
yeah.
two quick questions. I'm very sorry.
Sure.
What does Hey Shin Yud mean? The last word in that line? Avodat Hey Shin.
Hashem Yisborach. Hashem
Yisborach.
Yisborach. The abbreviation, Hashem Yisborach.
And one other question.
Sure.
You said a house should be a Yiddish or what?
Yiddish.
Shtub is home.
Stub. Yiddish is stub.
Yiddish is shtub.
Stub,
Okay.
yeah. Stub is a home. There used to be a store here in Shlomo, the Mayan Stub.
Yeah, right.
Mayan
That's
Stub.
not much of it.
Still, there used to be Mayan Stub. Yeah, sure. Anytime you don't understand any words, any phrases, any concepts, please, that's what we're here for, to make sure we understand everything that we're learning. Yeah, sure. Okay, Kine Timsa Indigenous, go ahead.
Yeah, like we said, he was a single.
Right, he was a single, not a pair. And so Antigonus, he gave advice, his directors were both from the aspect of Ava and also the aspect of Yira together, through him himself singularly. Because he was a Makabel Echad, right? And he was Makabel from Shimon Tzaddik, from a Yochid, and he was singularly Makabel. And therefore, when he now came b'makom zug, now it came time to pass it on to zugos, to pairs. Go ahead. So therefore, even why did he explain things both from the aspect of Yira and the aspect of Ava, which is not a singular message? It's like a dual message, because now he's going to be giving it over to pairs. So he wanted to give a dual message, a parallel message, a complementary message that included both Ava and Yira, that was going to be given over to pairs. So therefore he spoke about it in a bilateral, in a diverse fashion.
What is the Altir Kabbalah and Samson?
That's Rav. So that's it says the command to be kavonim or mishamshim. That's Rav Shlomo. So that's not Zava. That he reserved bleed. You want to do l'shem shemayim. That's all. And more shemayim aleichem. That's obviously you. So he gave both messages, but it gave them in two specific contents. One in V'yira and one in Ava. Now, Zugos. Lefika Lichai Antigonus Nosen Musar Kamo Shnayim Min Zugos. Now, we're going to see how these facets of Yira and Ava are going to filter down into the pairs, the Zugos themselves, and how the Av-based din is going to reflect the aspect of Yira. Based din is Yira, like din, right? And the Nasi is going to be reflecting and transferring the aspects of Ava. Is going to be going to this in great detail. Okay.
Nasi is like a dictator or a bullshit.
Right.
President.
He deals with the general populace. Right. Whereas the he's involved with dealing with specific issues and has to make specific decisions, right? The Nasi can be also doing that as well.
It's the thing, I don't know, I'm no Zionist, but it's just that the Nasi also has such a nice, favorable, easy position.
Public relations, it's not the Prime Minister.
It doesn't do anything tough to anybody.
Right. Exactly. So we'll see how this reflects. He's going to be very specific. So he said, so you have therefore.
What's he saying, the paragraph?
Which paragraph you're interested in? That you have Ava and Yira, and you have the pairs, and each pair, right, will be receiving and transferring these two aspects. One aspect of Ava and one aspect of Yira. Ad shebiyichud hayim v'shleimim, yachad, right? Ad shebiyachad, meaning both, the pair together. Mashlimim, go ahead. Right, you have to have perfection in your avodas Hashem, and that perfection is based on the two aspects of Yira. Well, shleim. I like when the Maharal uses shleim. Ashlim, shleimus is like perfection. Mashlimim. They're perfecting. They're. I mean, you could say completeness.
Shleim means complementing each other.
Yeah. So he says again, Antigonus who Rishon, Antigonus was the first one, Hazir Adam Atzmal Agufa Avavir. He was the first one that mentioned specifically in his transfer of the Kabbalah about Ava and Yira. Why was that? Antigonus Rishon, he was the first one, V'koidim, and he was the original one, as early as possible. He was the first and original initial one. Roy lo lahazir shir Rishon b'avodas Hashem. He was fit, therefore, that he should give his message having to do specifically with avodas Hashem. Ki ha'ava v'yirahem ikar tichila la'avoda. If you the initial aspects of a person's serving Hashem must begin with Ava and Yira. Everything else is going to stem from Ava and Yira, according to the explanation of the Maharal. Okay, but now we're going to go to the Zugos. Yeah. Achakach Yosef ben Eliezer, Yochanan ben Yochanan, Paul Atakin Beisoy. Meaning, he was warning, Antigonus was explaining about the person, the Adam Atzmo, right? That's the last two words of the previous paragraph in the first line of the previous paragraphs, right? Antigonus Shai Rishon Hazir Adam Atzmo. He was the one, Antigonus, the first one. He warned about, and he gave direction about, instructions about Adam Atzmo. Comes now Yossi ben Eliezer and Yossi ben Yochanan, right? Latakin Beso Sha'adam Shu Ikagadol. After the person himself now becomes his bias. Okay? Right, the bias is very close to the person. That's where he lives, right? So the bias has to be established on aspects of Yira and Avid also, as just well as a person. The Fikak, therefore. So we'll have to understand which one is this. When it says it should be a base vard l'chacham, he mentions avik v'apar gleihem. Amru brings down the Gemara in Kesubis. Oh, okay. So let's stop here for a moment. The Maharal is bringing Gemara in Kesubis. It says, right? La'aves, the pasuk says, right? La'aves Hashem Elokeichem. You should love Hashem, your God, and you should cleave to Him, right? And Gemara asks, is it possible at all that a person who's basav adam, flesh and blood, should have any association to the Shekhinah? It's a consuming fire, right? Ella, how does the Gemara say that a person's supposed to be misdavek to a Kadosh Baruch Hu? How can he get close to a Kadosh Baruch Hu? Kadosh Baruch Hu is non-physical. How can you get something close to something that's non-physical? The Gemara says, you misdavet to Chachamim v'Talmideihem. You get close to the Chachamim, the sages, and also their Talmidim. You get close to them, and that's how you get close to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, you bring them into your house. Your home should be the means by which you fulfill this davik to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and this is an aspect of Ava, It says, "La'ave es Hashem Elokeichem l'davka boy." How can you do that? By getting close to the Chachamim. And how do you get closest as possible to the Chachamim? Open your house, that they should be able to have a place of gathering, and they'll gather in your house. And you should be mistavi b'afar ugleim. You should be dusty with the dust of the feet of theirs. Okay. Hari hadovuk. 3 lines up from the bottom of that paragraph. Hari hadovuk b'chachamim hu avos Hashem yisborach. That's the main point. If you're misdavik to chachamim, this is something even outside the context of the home. If you're misdavik to chachamim, that is avos Hashem. How do you show that you love Hashem? You misdavik to those who Hashem loves most of all, meaning the chachamim, the Talmid chachamim. And at least it should be a branch, an aspect of Avos Hashem Yisborach. If you don't want to call it exactly Avos Hashem itself, it's at least a related branch, subject of loving Hashem. Lefikach, Yossi.
And there's a Talmid something, she is but I'm based on. In other words, I'm thinking started the house here, and he came to start with the house.
Right. So by taking that aspect that Antigonus mentioned of Ava, Yossi ben Eliezer wanted to reinforce that and strengthen it by applying it not just to the person himself, but to the person's house. Oh, so it turns out that the house of a person should be a means by having and expressing and achieving Avos Hashem. Not just a place to live. A person, you ask a person, what's a house? He says, where I live. He says, no. Right? Maral is teaching us that Rabbi Yosef ben Azariah is telling us that a person's house is the means by which you shall express and achieve your Avos Hashem. You hear that, Yisrael? Yeah. Right? You invite Talmid Chachamim into your house. Oh, morning. We're just learning a word out here. According to the Maharam of Prague, he's explained the 4th Mishnah in the first paragraph in Avos. Yossi ben Eliezer explains that you should have your house a beis vad l'chachamim. What does that mean? By having your house to be a beis vad, what you're doing is you're using, this is based on the Maharal's explanation, that the pasuk that the Gemara in Kesubos brings down, that's in this paragraph, Kava'akakach. You have it there? You have the Gemara, 3 lines in, you have the Gemara in Kesubos, right? La'avta es Hashem Elokechem u'la'adav kapoi. The more asked, can you actually get close to the Shekhinah? It's an Eishocha, it's a consuming fire. Ella what? Ella hidbik b'chachamim u'tablemehen. That you should be close to the Chachamim and the Talmidim. And that is the way you're going to achieve clinging to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's an aspect, clinging to a Kadosh Baruch Hu is an aspect of loving a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Comes Rabbi Yossi ben Eliezer, he says, your bias should be based on Chachamim. So if getting close to the Chachamim is the way you express your Ava to Hashem, so your house is not just a place to live. A house, your home, is a way that you achieve your Avos Hashem. By having Chachamim in your home, there's a beis vad, it's a place where they meet, they're there constantly, and that's how you achieve and express your Ava to Kadosh Baruch Hu, by having your bias as a beis vad with Chachamim. Yeah, sure.
So I have sort of like a new hop on this. I always thought that in previous readings that Hayu meets Avek Ba'afar Raglehem meant that you should like sit basically at the feet of the Chacham, like on the dirt.
Yeah, very good.
Now, based on what we've been saying, I almost think that it means like because there's so many Chachamim coming in and out all the time, all day long, that it's like they're kicking up the dust.
Yeah.
Like it's like a, you know what I mean? Like,
right, good. Yeah.
Do you think that's the meaning?
It could be that they're coming in and out, and because really, if you look at it, if you try to take it in a dust doesn't get kicked up by people sitting around doing nothing, right? Dust gets kicked up by usually people moving around, right? So if there's movement, right? So in Nechanam, very good. Okay, let's continue. So that brings us to Yeah, L'chol Parkas, Lefikach, yeah. Lefikach, Yossi ben Eliezer, Talmidoi. She nimtza bo'avas Hashem Yisborach. That's the place you're going to find Avos Hashem Yisborach. Ayidei Avos Hachamim, through the love of the sages, right? Zemidus Avos Hashem Yisborach. Or enough. It's either the actual midah of loving Hashem or it's an enough, right?
It's a close second.
That's right, right. If it's not actually as close, because you can't, again, we said, look, to mizdavik to the Shekhinah is impossible. To love a Kadosh Baruch Hu is possible. So if you can, and a way to achieve it, at least secondarily, is to love the Chachamim. Very good. Right. Now the next paragraph, Yossi ben Yochanan, Tikvin Dir Sodom. Right. He's also, we're speaking about the establishment of a person's dira and his home, right? He said it in a different way. Go ahead. What's the Amram? You want to take over?
Yosef ben Yochanan tiken yirat ha'adam uveto b'yirat shamayim.
Oh,
He said he can't do that.
right. Not in Avos Hashem,
But in
but
Yirat
in
shamayim.
Yerushalayim, a different way.
זה מה שאמר שיהיה ביתו פתוח לרווחה. This is what it means that it has to be open for guests. רוצה לומר שיהיו בני אדם נכנסים לשאול צרכיהם או שיהיה ביתו פתוח לרווחה לאורחים. That it means that people should be able to come in and ask for their needs, or they should be open for guests. שיהיו נכנסים ויוצאים, they should be coming in and going out.
There are many people, like that. When people knock on the door for tzedakah, they don't just give. They ask them, "Do you want a drink?" And they want something to eat, and some have a little table by the door and things like this. So it's not simply just giving them a little money, but they ask them. A lot of times these people are collecting. They're on the road, and it could be a few hours, and they need physical needs to be taken care of as well.
לכן מה שיהיו העניים בני ביתך, and also that what it means that poor people should be members of your houses. כל זה שלא יהיה צער עין במעונות. All this they should not have to worry about his money.
Don't be stingy. Hashem gives you the money, so I'm not saying you have to waste it and give it away exorbitantly, freely, over more than necessary, but don't be stingy.
ומי שהוא צער עין בבני אדם, ומכל שכן בעיניים ממעט
בעניים, right?
בעניים, ממעט מיראת שמיים,
Oh.
and more so one who is
Yes,
he doesn't want poor people.
he has a bad attitude
Poor
towards people. Has a bad attitude. He has a bad attitude towards Bnei Adam and people in general,
Right.
and even more so, he has a bad attitude towards poor people. That's mamayit mi Yerushalayim.
It takes away.
Takes away from his Yerushalayim.
וכך אינו משגיח על בני אדם שהם צריכים בו. And he's not showing people that they should need him. כי מי שהוא ירא שמיים הוא נכנע ואין לו גבוה רוח. Whoever sees Hashem, I don't know what נכנע means.
He's he's
Subjective.
there's a word for it. He's
The next one means it's he's
submissive.
not
He's submissive.
submissive.
He's submissive.
And he's very prideful.
Right. He's not prideful. The ain't no govus ruch. He's not prideful. He's submissive, and he's very.
Whoever has respect.
Yeah. Right. You can say, you look, this guy's a poor guy. What does he have? What is he? I'm supposed to be serving him. He should be serving me. No, I don't know. You're submissive. You understand that he has a difficult situation for one reason or another. Right? You're not being prideful. After all, Hashem gave you everything you have. You should be grateful. And he's less fortunate. You have mercy, have rachmanas on him, and help him out as much as you can.
וכך אין דוחי העניים שהם נכנעים, אין דוחי העניים, and therefore the poor people come.
Therefore, this person who is nichna and is not gavasru, he's not prideful, he will not push away the anim. He will not push docha. He wouldn't push them away. Shehem nichna. They are humble. These people are by nature, by their stature, their level, their role, this point in life is that they're humble because they have a lot of needs that they can't supply on their own.
וכן האורח שהוא נודד, and also the guest who's
on the move. No, he's on the move. You know, the person's traveling. If the person's traveling, right? If he needs a place to stay, especially like now, you know, you'd think, you know, hotels weren't around so much in the earlier days. And not only that, if there was a hotel, usually the people, the Meforshim say this in the Perek in Elu Metzias, when the Shittim Princesses is brought down, talks about there are people staying in a pundak, in a hotel, right? So the Shittim Princesses says that people who stayed in hotels in the earlier times, they weren't the best people. Why? Because anybody who had to stay in a hotel didn't have friends in town. So what kind of person doesn't have friends in town? You know, okay, if you're moving around, but you know, if you're Adam Choshev, if you're respectable, so you can get yourself people willing to bring you into your house. The people who couldn't be brought in as orachim in people's homes had to stay in the hotel, in the pundak. So the people that were staying there were the lowest level of society. So you had to be very careful about them.
הבא הירא שמיים הוא מקרב את העניים הנכנעים. And but one who fears Hashem is one who brings closer to the poor people that are going around. ולא שייך אהבת השם יתברך רק כאשר הוא אוהב את החכמים. And he cannot possibly love Hashem only when he loves chachamim. הוא מתאבק בעפר רגליהם and he stays at their feet. שדבר זה הוא מן אהבת השם יתברך, because this thing is so that brings him to love Hashem. אבל מי שאינו צר בבריות, somebody who's tsar b'briot to somebody.
I know. It's literally he has an eye inside. He has a bad attitude towards people.
ואינו מרחם על העניים, and there's no pity on the poor people. חוטא, he sins. וזה ופורק ממנו יראת שמיים, takes away from his יראת שמיים. ומכל שכן, שאל תרבה שיח עם האישה, that you should not speak too much to a woman. שדבר זו קלות ראש, because speaking to him is קלות ראש. ופרקת או יראת שמיים, and it takes away from יראת שמיים. וכך כל אלו שלושה דברים בא, יוסי בן יוחנן לתקן בהם בית אדם. And Yeshiva came to fix a man. This concept of not speaking to a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you hear all these classes how important to speak to a woman, to the wife.
Right. Okay.
So now
no, because that's people need hadrach in this, because first of all, you have to realize why a Chazal telling you not to do it so much, and nevertheless, it's a mitzvah to do it when it needs to be done, right? And the question is what you should talk about. So in the general rule is, anytime that you can, to listen to a person, to talk with a person, whoever they may be, right? If they need to get something off their chest, if they need to hear a good word, if they need to have something explained to them, this is all in the context of mitzvah, right? And the other thing, we'll get to this maybe a little bit more next week, Sicha is usually light conversation. Just like chatting away, right? So that's something you want to avoid. If you're talking about something serious, right, something that's necessary, that's
with your wife, you usually talk about unserious things, because usually you're in another world. You're in another world than your wife is when it comes to conversations.
It's the light talk that makes friends and friendliness.
Okay, fine. Yeah. That with you. So I'm saying here it says with your wife not to do those things, and we know that's how you become. Like you said, there's the light stuff that makes you friendly.
Right.
So it's a contradiction within the contradiction.
Well, okay. So it says al tarba. Don't go overboard. Meaning, not saying you shouldn't, but al tarba. Don't go overboard. Don't do it over the necessary. I mean, you have to realize this is a concept that we're going to try and develop as we go deeper into this concept. We'll spend a few days on the whole concept of Sicha and Sicha Ishtoi and Isha Kaveron, that the conversations that a person has will affect, as you said, the relationship, right? So you want that there should be a bond between people. You want that bond to exist, right? Nevertheless, right? You have to realize when the conversation is really going nowhere. It's just like kind of just people.
But that's what a woman wants.
So usually if they have friends, they don't need that so much from their husband. You know, the women get to talking.
That has it, as a youth director, I can tell you that's not my experience.
Well, what's your experience with?
I mean, we used to have kids at proms. You're always in and have a lot of dealing with parents and all that. And we hear a lot. And, it doesn't stop. The talking doesn't stop. I mean, the women just like to go on and on. And the men used to complain. That was one of the fights in the house that we used to have. He wanted to stop. He said, okay, we said it once. And she said it 55 times the same thing. And he wouldn't stop listening or go out of the house. And then there'd be a fight and could create a lot of commotion in the house. So it's not, there's no, according to this, there's no middle ground. And
there is middle ground. That if you're clever and smart about it, you can direct the conversation. Right? It's like you can get in the car and you can take the long road, you can take the short road, right? You can get lost, right? So
Route 6 or the old road.
Yeah, right. So it's the same with conversation. If you realize, if you realize, what's first of all, what you're sitting down to talk. So what are you going to talk about? Like, many times you're talking during the context of a meal, right? So a cup of coffee or something like that, right? Usually when people are busy, they're busy. Or sometimes, like, you're in the kitchen, and wife is doing this in the kitchen. You want to help out. You do this in the kitchen. You can talk at the same time, right? Sometimes there are specific things that have to be taken care of and done, and then sometimes they just want to, what happened during the day, and then you have to be careful that sometimes they'll start talking Lashon Hara and things like this. All kinds. You start asking too many questions.
Right. That I agree with you 100%. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
No question. So you just say, when you start talking about Lashon Hara, it makes perfect sense because you start talking about the neighbors, the friend, the business, the thing, and then there's some stuff with Lashon Hara. There's no question about it.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. Again, there are certain times it's mutter to listen to it. I mean, if the person's upset, they have to talk to somebody, get it off their chest. You know what this person did to me, so, why are you telling me this? Because I just got to talk to somebody about it. Like, I'm not going to go and, so sometimes there's twilis to listen to the Lashon Hara.
Therapeutic for the person.
Excuse me?
It's therapeutic for the person.
Yeah, right. The same thing on Shabbos. Mishnah Berurah speaks about that you're not supposed to have Meimar v'Sicha, Sikas Chulin, even on Shabbos. You're not supposed to speak mundane conversations on Shabbos, right? But if it's going to be to a less, a person's a little bit depressed, they want to hear something. That's what we spoke about yesterday. The Gemara speaks about that there was the Tana, the Mora was in the Shuk with Eli and Navi, and he asked, "Who's the Ben Olam Haba?" And he says, "These two brothers." So he said, "What are these two? They don't look like any special people." I said, "Yes, what are they? They're comedians. What comedians get to be the Ben Olam Haba? How can it be? Because they take people up out of their depression." And so they're using conversation to help people out of their depression. So we're gonna be getting into this. It's gonna be we'll speak much more about this in detail because it's a sensitive subject, maybe not so well understood. So we're getting into more about these in more details next week about this whole concept of Sikha.
Well, what does the word tell mean?
Yeah, the word. Yeah, well, I understand what the word tell means. It depends. It depends who you're talking to. What's the word pertaining from one person is not the word pertaining from another person. You're talking to a kid, a 3-year-old. Babble, 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 babble. Right? They've done tests and they've noticed that children who have a lack of input from especially adults when they're young, they're physically, not physically, but their speech is and sometimes their mental progress is delayed because they didn't have the input of verbal interaction with people. So when you're dealing with a child, right? It says also the Mishnah Avos says what the Sichas Yolodim, right? Sichas Yolodim, right? So we'll have to get into that too. If we have a chance, we'll try and jump over to that and see what's the difference. Sichas Yolodim and Sichas Ishta, right? We have to see. We could spend a month on the whole subject. I don't know if we will, but
Speaking with children, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, but he says that but you get involved with it too much, it's going to be detrimental as well, right? So so if you have a child and you want to, you're in charge of them, you're helping them temporarily on a regular basis, so you have to put the time into it. Put the time into the child. You want him to. That's part of his growth and his development. Also, for the wife, that's part of her growth and development. Also, as a healthy person, that her husband should pay attention to her at the proper times in the proper ways. It's obvious that there's no question about that. But again, it's harder to go more into it than necessary. You have to know whether you've come to the limits and when you've reached the gavul, you reach the time to withdraw, to stop it, to malayit in it. So that's what we'll be discussing with Hashem starting next week. We'll hope to get to that subject. Okay, Hashem, I'll have next year in about 5 minutes.